up, YouTube? Nate here. I'm with my buddy Marco. It's moving day at Fieldcraft Survival. We are at headquarters, even though it doesn't look like headquarters anymore. We're moving down the road onto Provo. And when you're moving, what do? You call your friend with a truck. My buddy Marco here works at Uhaul. Marco, what do you do at Uhaul?
I'm the head of engineering services for Uhaul.
And tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, I spent some time working with an OEM, automobile manufacturer. I did things like work on special vehicles. I did vehicle dynamic stuff, handling stuff, was on the road course a lot. So I spent a lot of time around cars. And I also spent a lot of time around cars in my personal life, making my own modifications to race cars, stuff like that. Then I went to Uhaul. Now my specialty is trailers. So I do a lot of towing and a lot of specialty on how to load a trailer, how to load tow vehicles, and how to do testing with trucks and trailers.
One of the things that Marco does that we get to talk about quite a bit is accidents, right? Obviously, me being a medic and being familiar with responding to scenes, and Marco being someone who generally has to do some of the investigation for some of those things after the fact, is we see a lot of things go wrong. And so what we're going to get from Marco today is a whole bunch of great information about how to actually properly load a trailer, how to properly hook up a trailer, how to use a car hauler, and some of these other things that it sounds easy enough, but if you've ever probably driven a U-Haul or had to hook up a trailer, you've probably had a little bit of apprehension about it. There is absolutely a way to do it wrong. Weight distribution is a huge deal, and loading something the wrong way can make a bad situation multiply into something that could be potentially fatal. So just like everything else in preparedness, everything sounds a whole lot of simple. We could take a lot of things for granted, but by adding a little bit of information, it'll make us a whole ton safer. The first question that I have is about the Uhaul trucks.
Okay.
It's a vehicle that people might not be familiar with, obviously, compared to their everyday driver. So what are some things to think about when driving a truck?
Well, one thing when driving, it's a little bigger. So there's a lot more space. You're probably carrying a little more load. So slow down, leave more space for stopping distance. That would be a real common thing. When you're going up hills, it's probably going to go up a little slower than you normally would in a passenger vehicle. So just anticipate you're going to go up slower. Put your flashes on if you're going really slow. And then when you go downhill, try and go down in the same gear that you went up in. So if you go up in third gear, try and see if you can go down in third gear. A lot of our trucks also have grade assist. So if you're going downhill, if you just tap the brakes, the transmission will help you slow down as well. So there's a lot of benefits on the U-Haul truck that are made for the self-move industry.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's intuitive. Other than driving the vehicle, now let's talk about putting all of our stuff inside of it. Tips and tricks for safely loading the truck.
Well, I would say first and foremost, before you start loading the truck, put the parking brake on. So make sure that vehicle does not move and try and load in the most flat location you can. So some of the trucks have ramps. So deploy the ramp, and to deploy the ramp, you'll need to open the rear door. So use a ramp when loading up and down stuff, especially if you're using a dolly. And when you're loading stuff, you want to load the heaviest items first and on the lower floor. So if you load stuff towards the front wall that are heavy, like big furniture, appliances, that kind of stuff, and on the ground, then I would put lighter items like boxes and clothing on top. And then one really good benefit of the larger U-Haul trucks have an area above the cab called Mom's Attic. That is meant for the more fragile items. It has a smoother ride kind of in that area. It can take about 300 pounds. So if you have china, any sensitive, fragile items, family heirlooms that are small enough to put boxes, I would put those in Mom's Attic. So essentially, heavy items on the bottom, towards the front, load as you get higher, lighter and lighter, maybe smaller. And then also what's very important for your belongings is secure them. That way they don't move around and hit each other or get damaged when they move. So secure your load while you're using the truck. And then when you're done, close the door, secure the door. If you're going to be staying overnight somewhere, I'd recommend putting a lock on it. And then just follow the posted speed limits, wear your seatbelt, and slow down.
Nice. That's the truck. And the truck's probably super common, but what I imagine might be more common than that is trailers, especially I think for part of like the overland community, stuff like that. I see a lot of these trailers that people love to go overlanding with. And every time I see them, I think like, man, I don't know how the weight distribution is on these trailers. Tell us a little bit about how to safely connect a trailer. Same thing, the weight and load distribution that we're thinking about for a trailer.
Whenever you're loading a trailer, a similar concept. You want to ensure the parking brake on that tow vehicle is set so the tow vehicle and trailer do not move. You're going to make sure that the coupler or the part of the trailer that connects to the tow vehicle to the ball, make sure that's secure. And chains are connected across, the lighting as well. And then once you're ensure that everything is secure and not going to move, you're going to load similar to the trucks, heaviest items first. So load heavier in the front. So if you split a trailer into the midpoint, like 50-50, You want to load the heaviest items in the front half. We say 60-40 with Uhaul trailers, but just load heavier in front. That'll ensure it'll have proper dynamics, proper stability, and if any sway that occurs will subside and not propagate. So it'll be a stable combination throughout your move. So big point in trailer is load heavier in front, secure your load as well. So you don't want, as you're moving, for anything in the trailer to move around and get damaged. And follow posted speed limits for our trailers. Maximum speed 55 miles an hour, but in general, just slow down and wear your seatbelt.
So one thing that you mentioned was like with the trailer, when you say sway or the movement, that it'll settle and not propagate. What do you mean by that?
The trailer sway is a natural response of the trailer to an outside force, kind of like a tree branch blowing in the wind. As the tow vehicle moves, the trailer is going to respond to that input, or if there's a crosswind due to passing traffic, that trailer may sway. Sway is normal, sway is natural. The sway will subside, provided the trailer is loaded properly and the speeds are appropriate. But if you do ever encounter sway where it's not subsiding, what you need to do are three things. Hold the steering wheel straight, let off the throttle, let off the gas, and do not brake. As you do those three things, the combination with being the tow vehicle and trailer will slow down and the sway will subside and the trailer will no longer sway and it'll be stable again. What you should do after that, if you keep encountering sway that does not subside and you keep having to do this maneuver, would recommend you pull over to a safe location and check your load. Maybe your load moved, maybe it was loaded improperly to begin with, but something was likely wrong with that load that's causing you to sway consistently.
Can you give me an example when you say, again, like if the sway is going to basically like propagate, a little bit of a description as to what that might feel like?
Might feel, a common term is fishtailing, where your tow vehicle is constantly fishtailing the tail wagging the dog, and that is an undesirable effect if it's continuous. Every once in a while is okay, it's just normal sway, but where the tire combination, the tail is constantly wagging the dog, that's undesirable sway, and it could turn into whipping. And whipping is uncontrollable sway that will lead into a crash.
Right, if I've got people on either side of me, or if I'm already like on a two-lane highway or whatever the case might be, then
yeah, that's highly undesirable. You could hit other people.
Right. What you said is that I need to make sure that I'm holding the steering wheel straight.
Yes.
Let off the gas. Do not brake.
Do not brake.
Why not brake? Which is what I think the most intuitive move would be. I go, oh gosh.
Yeah, it is a natural response. You want to just kind of hit up the brakes and slow the combination down. What happens is as the trailer is swaying behind you, if it has an articulation or the trailer is not in line and if you braked, you're slowing the tow vehicle down and that can induce a jackknife, which will actually induce the crash. So what you want to do is you want to let off the gas, hold the steering wheel straight, and due to natural forces of wind resistance and tire resistance or rolling resistance, the whole thing will slow down and the trailer will become stable again.
No, that's a perfect example, I think, of what might feel intuitive. It will actually be counterintuitive. You know, if you find yourself in a situation, you go, oh crap, and I need to stop, I need to figure this out. But how that actually will cause more problems than it will solve.
It absolutely will, absolutely will.
The last one is probably, we see it way less often, but every time I see it, I think there's a lot more information in this than I think that I generally know about, because it's not something I've had to use before, but the car haulers.
Yeah, car haulers is another one of our trailers. Car hauler, same as a regular trailer, is you load heavier in front, which means your vehicles, you're going to want to load them nose forward or forward facing. You don't want to put them on backwards. If you have a vehicle that has lower front hanging features like an air dam, we recommend raising the front of the vehicle by putting blocks like 2x6s on the tire area where the tire will stay. So you're going to load that vehicle facing forward, strap it down with the tire straps, use the security chains to prevent the vehicle from moving, and then do not put any cargo in that car or vehicle that's on the trailer, because that cargo could move around, damage your car that's on the trailer, and it also could change dynamically what's going on, because all our recommendations are based on empty cars.
I would think that's a whole lot of extra space that I just get to toss things into, but
it is, but unfortunately we don't recommend using it.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. What I want to do is actually get into the specifics. I say it all the time, just because we say things doesn't make it so. So I want to see from start to finish what right looks like, and let's go do some of that.
Today we're going to show how to load a vehicle onto one of our auto transports or car haulers. So we're going to load this Porsche onto this auto transport, and then we're going to show the whole process, how to strap it down, how to put the ramps away, all that stuff to ensure you have a safe and productive move. Okay, all the way up on the parking chocks on the front wall, vehicle in park. In this case, in first gear, parking brake set, and I'm gonna turn it off. All right, next we're gonna strap the vehicle down, and I have Nate from Fieldcraft here to assist how to do that process. All right, so Nate, first thing, grab the tire straps. You're going to feed the end of the strap through the ratchet. And because we're on a slight incline, I'm gonna pull it out of gear to allow it to move forward as we strap it down. Keep going. We're gonna use the security chain, which is the chain in front. And what I want you to do is find a strong part of the vehicle, like the lower control arm or a piece of the subframe, but this is a unibody, so you want a piece of the lower control arm. Stow the ramps, and then attach the rear chain similar to how you did the front. All right, Nate, now attach it to itself like you did the front. And then lastly, we'll put it in gear, set the parking brake if it's a manual transmission vehicle, or put it in park. So what you want to do is try and prevent the vehicle from moving while it's in transit. So parking brake and leave in park or put it in gear. All right, this Porsche is ready to go.